My name is Ahjamu Umi, and I'm the chair of the Occupy Northeast the Black Working Group here in Portland, Oregon. And I'm a recovering banker. I worked as a banking, credit union, and community banking executive in the lending area for many years before recovering and leaving that industry. So I have a very good understanding of how the industry works, how lending happens, how people get loans. And that's why I understand why this mortgage lending problem has grown to the proportions that it has. The reason why it has, like the narrative that's out there is that, well, people had loans they can't afford, and so that's why they're not being able to make the payments, and that's why we have a mortgage crisis, and that's completely untrue. What's actually happened is the banks, of course, have, they have the fiduciary responsibility to loan money to people who can pay it back. So if that was true, if they're loaning money to people who can't afford it, then the fault lies with them. But what's really happened is that the way the process is set up, the banks are loaning money to people based on people coming and sitting down with the banking professionals, and they're looking at these people like they're people they can trust. You're going to give them advice and steer them into loan products that best represent their interests. And so people are going into that totally open and totally trusting what the banking professionals tell them. But unfortunately, what's happened and what's happening is that the banking professionals make profit incentive based on selling people products that are much more expensive than what the people really actually qualify for. So they're not representing the people's interests. They have a vested interest in steering the people in tricky loan products that are more expensive and therefore provide more financial incentive to the lending professional. So this is what's happened. In the cases of the people here in Portland that we're working with, these are folks that have had qualifying credit scores that qualified them for long-term, low-interest, fixed mortgage loans. That's what they should have gotten, and instead they were steered into these tricky high interest rate products. So, just like any of us who are consumers, if someone sells you a product and they're telling you the product will do all of these wonderful things, and then you buy the product based on what they're telling you, and you get it and you realize it doesn't do anything that they told you it would do, then you're going to want to take that product back. And so that's why we're saying these folks have no obligation to these banks. They were deceived and defrauded into these products that they have, with the banks fully understanding that they had limited, if any, ability to fulfill the requirements to fulfill these loans that were just totally unreasonable. So this is why you have a mortgage crisis, why you have a banking and lending crisis, and that's why we're standing up and saying we're not going to put the onus on these hardworking folks who have been deceived and frauded. We're going to put the onus on these criminal banks, and we're saying these police agencies, instead of evicting people who are hardworking and who have been defrauded, they should be investigating, arresting, and convicting these bank officials who are the real criminals and the real thugs and gangsters in this whole problem.